Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I guess, do you mind starting off with, I guess, a little bit of your background for those who may not know about it?
Yeah, so I started when I was 8 years old. Got a book on magic, started doing kids' birthday parties, started doing all that. I went to college in Los Angeles, studied finance, and then got out and continued to pursue magic. I street performed for a couple of years, and then I moved on and did cruise ships, I did college shows, and then basically I joined the Broadway show The Illusionist, which was not a Broadway show at the time, it was just a random show that we were trying out. It ended up becoming a big hit, and it went to Broadway for 2 years.
Nice.
And what this tour that I'm on right now is same producers of The Illusionist, but it's just my own show, The Magic of Adam Trent. So touring all around the country and coming to Chicago next weekend.
Yeah, finance to magic.
Yes.
How? Why? What were your parents' thoughts?
My parents' thoughts were my parents' thoughts were, what is happening?
Yeah.
But I think I was doing magic my whole life, so I think they kind of expected it to happen. But they always said, get a business degree, get a degree in something, and then if you want to do magic, you can do whatever you want. But at least you have a degree to.
Yeah.
They always said to fall back on. I always thought it was a degree to help me to complement whatever it was I was going to end up doing.
Yeah. How do you see, I guess, this show being different than The Illusionist from 2 years ago, or even your childhood magic show?
Yeah, so it's similar in the sense that it's the same kind of big, spectacular, big produced style magic. There's giant LED walls, there's rock concert lighting, there's all that. It's different in the sense that it's just me, so I kind of broken away from the boy band.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more chance for the audience to kind of get to know me. There's more storytelling. There's, the style that I do, it incorporates comedy and music into the show. So it's kind of a blend of 3 different art forms all in one.
Cool. When you say storytelling, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so within the show I talk about how I got started. I talk about, I teach the audience how to do some tricks. I show them the first trick I ever did. I show them where I think magic's going. It's kind of more of my take on magic as a whole. Whereas in The Illusionist it was just like, go do something flashy really quick and then run off stage.
Back. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first trick you learned to do?
Just a simple card trick, a sleight of hand thing from my parents. I remember I showed it to my mom and it fooled her.
Okay.
And she was like, oh, wait, how'd you do that? And at 8 years old, it was like amazing because you don't really your parents know everything at that age,
Yeah.
So when my mom was fooled by it, I was like, wow, this is like a superpower for me.
Yeah.
So I went back and started just learning more and as a magician, it's like you don't start with anything big. You start with cards and coins and whatever you can kind of find around the house, napkin tricks, things like that. So that's how I started.
Cool. How do you feel, I guess, your magic or even your approach to it has changed over time as well?
Honestly, it was it's been the incorporation of music and comedy into it. When I first started magic, I was already into music and I was already into to watching comedy a lot. So I kind of just wanted to perform. I didn't know what it was going to be. Mm-hmm. I'd watch Chris Rock way back in the day, and I was like, man, he's so funny. Like, how is he so funny? And I'd watch Michael Jackson and Elvis and these guys on VHS tapes, and it was like, wow, look at how they're controlling this audience with the music. Yeah. So when I got into magic, I just kind of started to, I started as just a magician. I was in a tuxedo doing regular tricks, and then as I got a bit older, I started kind of putting some music into it. And I realized, okay, this works really well with it. And I started putting comedy into the magic, and I thought, wow, this works really well with it also. So it kind of, these different art forms kind of blended harmoniously together. That I just kept putting all these different loves that I had into it as I grew up.
I guess, how soon into doing magic did you start incorporating those different art forms?
When I was in middle school, actually, I put on a show for my middle school, and I remember my middle school, I asked my middle school principal, could I do a show for the kids? And the kids, I was a kid too, for my peers, my classmates, and he was like, yes, you can. How long's your show? And I was like, oh, it's 3.5 minutes long. Yeah. And he's like, okay, well, if I take everyone out of class for like a whole hour, you need to do like a 50-minute show. And I was like, okay, well, I'll do a 50-minute show. Yeah. So the way that I filled the time was I was like, okay, well, I've been doing these, like, I was doing break dancing at the time, and I like sang these like pop songs. I wanted to be in a boy band, is what the truth was, if we can't tell. Yeah. So I incorporated these different art forms into it, and I just did songs where I had like a little rope trick that was 10 seconds long, and I kind of dance and sing for 3 minutes, and I'd do the rope trick, and I'd keep dancing and singing. Yeah. And that was how I filled the time. And what I found was that like everyone would scream and go nuts when I was like dancing around and doing the music part, and then. So I was like, all right, I'm doing more of that. So I kept, that was honestly, I needed to fill time in the beginning, and I realized that it actually worked well, so I kept it in.
Yeah. What was, I guess, you obviously said that part was, the response was very positive. Going forward, I guess, what has the response been to your act?
I think it's been good. I mean, like now, I'm on a theater tour, so I'm touring theaters all over the U.S. and a lot of these places I'm playing, theaters like the Cadillac Palace where they traditionally have Broadway shows.
Yeah.
So I think that the fact that there's these different art forms like music and comedy, it's not so much of a bucket of ice water in the face for these audiences who are used to seeing song and a more theatrical production. It lets me be more theatrical with my stuff. I mean, there's still dancing in the show. I mean, I clone myself on stage, and I clone myself on stage, and I dance with my clones.
Okay.
I teleport across the stage. There's these giant LED walls that I smash into, and I step in and out of, and do kind of like a choreographed magic routine with.
Gotcha.
So it's really been vital to me creating this type of theatrical show.
Gotcha. How do you clone yourself, or is that a
magic?
Gotcha. Speaking of touring, how do you, I guess, change your act per city, or do you? And
I change it. I don't change it per city. I change it per year. Like it takes a long time to. I mean, I'm always adding new things to the show. In this show, it's probably pretty much a completely brand new show from what I did a year or two ago. There's a couple old favorites. So actually, when I was here with the Illusionists, I think 3 years ago. There might be one act that's the same, but the rest of it's all different. It's something where once a year I try to find a place that I can sit down for several months and really just workshop a piece.
Gotcha.
So I get brains together. There's some brilliant minds in magic who create illusions, and I'll come to them and I'll say, look, I want to clone myself.
Yeah.
Let's think about 10 ways to do it, and okay, let's eliminate the really impractical ones. Here's 5 that we can tour with, that we can travel with, that will work well in different size theaters, and we kind of go that direction. But it does take a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually once a year I pick a handful of new ideas that I have, and I try to get them on stage.
Cool. And then how do you decide, I guess, what to change and when to change it? Like, audience response, how does that factor in?
Yeah, audience response is a big thing. I mean, there's things in my show that are not my favorite pieces of magic, but I keep them because the audience goes nuts for them. And then, but usually I'm on the same page with the audience. Usually if the audience is having fun with something, I'm having fun with it.
Cool.
So yeah, every year I kind of look at like what's on the cutting block, like what are the 2 weakest parts of my show. All right, let's cut those.
Yeah.
Let's put in 5 new things. I'll give these 5 new things a few months to see if they get good, and if they do, then let's knock out the 2 that are, it's always like a fight for whatever is the best wins.
Gotcha. And then how, I guess, would you characterize the difference between the initial or the inaugural kind of Illusionists and the show that you're doing now?
I'd say it's quite different, really. I mean, so much of what I'm doing as a performer has changed. When I was part of the Illusionists, I was known as the futurist, was kind of the moniker they gave me, which I did a lot of tech-based illusions. And there's still some of those in the show. I still do things like live hologram projection and stuff with LED walls and virtual reality helmets and whatnot. Sure. But I'd say the show is primarily it's audience participation. It's a family-friendly thing that it's so much more broad than just tech illusions. So it's changed a bit in that sense.
Yeah. Who would you say your target audience is?
It's honestly families. 4 to 104. Just when I say like there's a perfect age for it, there's someone who's outside that age that comes up and they're laughing or crying after the show, talking about how much they didn't expect it to be what they thought it was going to be. There's so many parents that come to the show and they get a babysitter for their kids. Yeah. And there's so many families that come and they bring the kids. I always say bring the whole family. When I first saw David Copperfield when I was 8 years old, it was the first show that I remember where my whole family laughed and had fun together in the theater. Before that, it was like the comedian my dad liked and my mom didn't, and the musicals my mom liked and my dad didn't, and the plays my parents liked and the kids were bored. And when we went and we saw the magic show, the whole family together, I just remember all of us like laughing and just being like, wow, this is so fun. And we were all participating and we were all involved and we were doing things. And that's kind of what I try to create on my tour, is a chance that the family can come to the theater together and they can all enjoy this together. I mean, without that, honestly, I probably wouldn't have gotten involved in theater because just seeing the traditional theatrical productions didn't interest me. I was always bored during them as a kid. So it wasn't until I saw a magician that I was like, okay, this theater is a cool place, and I can enjoy this.
Gotcha. You've been compared to, or I guess you're a combination of Justin Timberlake and David Copperfield. One, how did that come about? Two, like, what are your thoughts? Is that where you see
No,
yourself?
I always say, you know, I wanted to be in a boy band, but it never worked out because I just wasn't I wasn't good enough for music. But I think it's because I put so much music in my show that, you know. I mean, look, if anyone can be compared to Justin Timberlake, I'll take it.
Yeah,
okay,
Justin
I'm not
Timberlake
complaining.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm fine, totally fine.
Yeah.
What one can hope, one can dream, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the combination of the music and the comedy and everything that
Cool.
kind of formed that style.
Is the correct term magic or illusions?
It's whatever. I mean, you know, traditionally people have considered illusionists to be the term for someone who's in a stage doing kind of grander scale magic. I always kind of think it's the same. Magician, illusionist, same thing. We're all guys just trying to make people think that we're doing something that's impossible.
Cool. Who are some illusionists or magicians that you look up to?
David Copperfield, obviously, he's the one who started me out. I always thought he was the greatest that ever lived. Penn and Teller, I'm huge fans of. Yeah, I really like Penn and Teller a lot, and so those are a couple of guys that you know. The rest of them are people that the public may not know.
Okay.
But I've taken inspiration from a lot of different magicians along the way. The great thing about magic is it's such a broad art form. You know, there's guys who perform out of a briefcase and do small tricks. There's close-up magic on the street. There's guys who are making monuments disappear.
Yeah.
There's so many different genres of it that everyone has their own style.
Yeah. Well, I guess of those, which is your favorite style?
David Copperfield is my favorite in the sense that I always thought that magic was best seen live.
Okay.
Now, I saw him on TV. You know, he had TV specials which were fantastic, but there was nothing quite like going and seeing a magic show live. Because when you're watching it on camera, you always wonder, like, are there cuts? You know, is this the same?
Yeah.
Whereas when you go watch it live and you see something impossible happen, it's like, what a special feeling
For sure.
that it gives you. So, you know, he toured the most. You know, every few years he came to Colorado where I grew up, and we always went and saw him, and that was always like a big event when he came to town.
I guess, what do you want people to take away from your show? I know you said it's for families and you want them to have a good time all together, or even parents coming and seeing the show, but I guess is there like a certain feeling or a certain vibe that you're going for?
I want them to see how different a magic show can be from what they expect. You know, I don't want to give away the ending of my show, but most people end up crying at the end of the show, which is kind of a strange emotion that people don't expect to feel at a magic show.
Yeah.
But you know, I want people to be laughing so hard that their sides are hurting. I want them to see their friends and family on stage. I mean, in this show, literally everyone in the audience gets involved. So every single person who comes gets to participate in the show if they want. So it's not a sit back and just watch something happen on stage. It's, you know, so my goal is that I want people to feel differently than they thought they would feel after a magic show.
What's your favorite trick?
Oh boy, it changes by the week.
Okay.
It honestly changes by the week. Right now, probably the way that I open my show is my favorite. I do hologram projection, and basically I tell the story of how I got started in magic. And there's a magic book that's a hologram that becomes real that I open up, and I draw a hologram of a piano, and then the hologram becomes a real piano that I use for the rest of the show.
Cool.
So it's something that I spent years on, and as of now, it's the favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you go to like magic school?
I never did. No, I grew up in Colorado, and there was no real infrastructure like that for magicians to learn magic. It was kind of, I got a book and I started learning that, and then it was just watching magicians on TV.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's a magic school in Los Angeles, but you know, growing up in Boulder, Colorado, it was just, you know, there was a small little group of local magicians, but no one really doing what I wanted to do with it, where I wanted to perform and tour and do all this stuff. So I was kind of on my own, and I just started, you know, just doing whatever I could to figure out what was next.
Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think would be important to know?
Would you like to learn how to do a trick?
Sure.
You want to learn one?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm about to perform for an investigative journalist. This is a very unlikely pair for a magic audience. All right. I'll show you what it looks like first, then I'll show you how it's done. Okay. So it'll be like the performance followed by the tutorial.
Okay.
All right. So whenever I'm going to go like this down the side of the pack. Whenever you want, you just go ahead and say stop. Okay.
Okay. Stop.
Right there. Fantastic. Take the card, look at it, and give it a little show to which one's yours. That's probably your camera, or that over here. Give it a little show to the camera. And I can see it, 2 of clubs. Great, there we go. That's how it works.
Yeah.
No, it's okay if I see it. Watch, I put it on top of the deck. 2 of clubs goes on top of the deck. You're going to be in charge of the lighter.
Okay.
When I say the moment's now, You're gonna light the lighter, right? Let's give a little practice. The moment's now.
Oh, God.
All right, that's why we practice. All right,
right.
It's not actually now, but we're getting close. Watch. I take a balloon and I take a pack of cards. I tap the cards against the balloon. And I say the magic words.
Moment's now. Right?
Adam Trent was the magic words. Yes, but the moment's now. Okay. Now, hold on, before I do this, listen. You can now hear there's something inside the balloon, yes?
Yeah.
Now's the moment. Light the lighter. Watch. Ready? Ooh. Oh! The balloon pops. One card falls out. Is that your card, the two of clubs?
Yeah.
That's it. So that's the way that it looks. Now here's the way that it works. Are you ready for the secret to it? Yeah. Ready for the secret? Okay, all right. This is so here's the way it works. You have someone pick a card. Does not matter what card it is they choose. In this case, you chose the two of clubs, right?
Yeah.
You put it on top of the deck. That is important because then I give you lighter and I say practice, and that's just misdirection. While you're busy doing that, because your card's on top, I can just push your card into my hand like that. All right. So I basically just palm your card off the top of the deck. That's really all the hard work there is. At this point, if you're at a party or something, you reach over, you grab a balloon from the corner of the room, you press their card against the balloon, and you're ready to do the trick, all right?
Okay.
Now, don't use clear balloons for this, obviously. This is instructional purposes only. But then you tap the cards against it, you say Adam Trent, which has nothing. The way I make the sound, it's just my finger tapping it.
Yeah.
And that's the way it works. Pretty good trick, huh?
Cool. Yeah.
I should mention, if someone, there's only clear balloons and you're doing it at a party, keep your hand away from the audience, obviously. If someone does see it in your hand, you can save the trick, and here's the way you save this one. You just go, okay, give it one of those. Oh, watch, when you do that, you'll see this happen on this. Watch. Ready? You'll see your card actually start to melt piece by piece. One more, and it actually you can save the trick.
Okay.
Like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, everyone can do that.
That's only if you get in trouble, though.
Okay.
That's if you get caught, then you save it like that.
Okay.
So now you know.
Nice. Well, thanks. Wow. Yeah. Hey.